in times of doubt. I shall keep faith.
The warp storms around the topic of Dawn of War 3 are already vast. Brother turning against brother, some speak of heresy, others in foul Xenos tongues. One thing is clear though, war is raging, but fought over a curious resource. I'm talking more today about the visuals of Dawn of War 3, which seem to be fast becoming the most heated aspect of the game's development. I have to admit I'm fairly baffled by just how passionate people are becoming just over the look and feel of the game. As everyone knows, graphics are for me a nice bonus. It's something I gratefully receive rather than expect. For the solid core of a game, it comes down to its mechanics and overall gameplay design for me. Still, many people seem very concerned over how shiny or not shiny the units are in Dawn of War 3, so let's discuss it. Now firstly, a little background on my 40k experience, as in the last video I had a few people accusing me of simply jumping onto a game I didn't understand. I've been playing 40k for some 20 years, painting, playing, enjoying the universe that is Warhammer, so I feel it's safe to say I am emotionally invested in it. Also, for those of you who are subscribed to me for some time now, you're going to know that many people see me as a fairly serious person. This isn't actually accurate, but I tend to view things with a more serious tone than most, I guess. Why does any of this matter? Well, because it will probably surprise you to hear me say I honestly don't care how shiny the units are in Dawn of War 3. For that matter, I don't think they are even that bright at all. I seriously cannot understand what all the fuss is about. I swear to God, people are just making a big fuss about nothing. Here's why. 40k is stupid, alright? It's stupid. And that's why I love it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's over the top, and that's what attracts me to it. It's bleak. It's a dystopian nightmare. It's a bloodthirsty, unending war in space. Every unit that exists is ridiculous and over the top and so powerful. In short, it's everything I want in a fantasy hobby. It's what attracted me to it decades ago. Here's the other beauty with 40k. It is whatever you want it to be. That has always been the point. I love converting models, creating, imagining. It's not about arguing over who read what quote and therefore they must be right. For God's sake, it doesn't matter. It's about what you want to believe. The lore is even written so that it's fairly reasonable. You can interpret things however you want. The fog of corruption, suppression and war is so thick in the far future. It's amazing anybody knows what's going on at all. Now the other strong element of the game is of course its visuals, of course. And again, as someone who owns 3 40k armies, choosing how to paint them, how to colour, design every millimetre of every miniature is what's so captivating about the game. This is where we come to the crux of the matter. Some people love to paint clean. They love to paint bright with fully saturated models. Other people want drab realism, rough models with textured armour and battle scars. It's a choice, it's part of 40k. Some people like to scratch up their models, leave bullet marks, blood, dirt. Others like to keep it clean. It's a personal choice. So while many say this is the right or most accurate representation, or it doesn't look like it used to, it's wrong, soldiers even now are taught to keep their gear clean and smart. It's always been the way. For thousands of years in human history, when people went to war, they polished up their armour, they wore bright uniforms. Nothing says that Warhammer 40k has to be dark and gritty at all times. Yes, it has these elements, but part of its crazy fiction is the brightness in the dark. And the other point I would make is that, in my opinion, I still think of all the game genres, and RTS is probably the one that it matters least in terms of having a realistic battle-worn style to the units. I saw some people referencing Space Marine and noting its art style and how that was very appropriate there, and I agree, the game was amazing and its art and design fit the narrative and scenario perfectly. On RTS though, I think the units look great, and you know what, I think they do actually look pretty weathered if you look really at them. They aren't vector colours like Firewatch style, they have great tonal variation, great ranges of highs and low points. It's not photorealistic, but I don't think that's necessary or appropriate. Now let's take a look at the range of styles we see in the 40k universe. Okay, first up we got this Grey Knight, but for some reason gold, because somebody just felt like painting it that colour. It looks like an Inquisitor here, Imperial Inquisitor. Lovely colour variation here. Imperial Fists, look at these guys, bright, popping off the page. But then a slightly more realistic version, loads of weathering on these guys. Again, Space Marine, check out the weathering, bullet scars, knocked all over the place. Tyrannid art, look at this, full of colour, bloodthirsty, all over the place. Orcs, bad moons, always that full on yellow colour for these guys. Really, really bright, really vibrant on the battlefield. Again, a slightly more realistic variation of a tyrant there. Okay, Space Marine the game, everybody's talking about it. You can see that more realistic style. The Death Core of Krieg, always ready to bring down everyone's colour. An Emperor's Children, Warhound Titan, pink. Blood Angels, okay, look, slightly more sort of realistic art style in the miniatures there. The classic Imperial Fists image here of this Space Marine. But look, you know, two variations there in terms of just the coloration, the hue saturation. Okay, Eden, Eldar, beautiful bright colours. Skitari, look at them, again, kind of realistic but beautiful colours in there. Space Marine Chaplain, really bright variation colour there. The Dark Millennium box cover, look at the art, look how bright and full of colour everything is. Back to the Death Core of Krieg, dark, depressive. Look at this scene here, absolutely gorgeous, but again on that more realistic spectrum. These guys have always got that tone about them, you know. Back to Tyrannids, look at these guys, they're full on, full of punching colour, they're absolutely crazy, but look, beautiful at the same time. Tau, hate the Tau, boring, but I mean look at them, full of colour there. Official art, look at this, Emperor's Children there, so much colour going on. Back to a weathered variation. This is a larger model, obviously not down to the miniature scale, but got tons and tons of detail in the variation there. This is from the game Regicide. Again, you can see that's kind of more toned back, brought in. Battlefield Gothic Armada, colour bursting all over the place. Necrons, these guys have the fluorescent green embedded in almost everything that they do. Imperial Fists from the Heresy, look at this guy, he's got so much detail and variation and just battle scarring and weathering going on. The classic Beak Space Marine, look at this guy, clean but you know very full of colour. A more realistic rendering here in terms of some concept art. Back to Ultramarines, look at these guys, they're so bright, they're full of colour on the armour. And then a Space Marine tank, again look at the detail and the colour and the highlighting. Now we come to Dawn of War 3, look, it's not that different. In fact, actually it's got much richer tone and variation than we see from some of those tabletop images and some of that concept art even. So honestly, I really do not see what the big issue is when you look at this as a whole picture. And yes, okay, the video game is not the tabletop game, I understand that completely, but it encompasses the whole, you know, range of expressions and artistic feeling and imagination. That's what 40k, that's what the hobby is all about, is about that variation and personal interpretation. So if Dawn of War 3 decides to go in this direction where it has a little bit more colour than people would like, oh my god, it doesn't matter. That's what 40k is all about. It's about variation and about things being different. What we should be caring about is, does this play well? Is it enjoyable? Are we not going to be able to, you know, stop playing it? If we get the game and the mechanics suck and, you know, nothing works and it's frustrating and some things are OP and it all just kind of falls apart, well, who gives a damn what the coloration of the units looks like at that point, because nobody's going to want to play the game, right? You've got to have the solid mechanics of the game in place. You've got to have really good dynamic battles. It has to work. It can't be too oversimplified, because although they want to get new people in, it can't be, you know, too dumbed down. They've said it won't be, so let's see about that. It has to be a challenge. There has to be something that's there for the veterans. We want to see good unit variation. We want to see different armies. They've said so far we're going to have 3. We want to definitely be able to have more than that. We want to have the other races in the mix. We want to be able to customize weapons on the Titans. There's so many more important questions that we should be asking than just, are they the right color? So seriously guys, let's get back on with talking about other issues for this game which are way more important than just how it looks. Thanks for watching as always guys. Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and if you have any questions, throw those in the mix. I'll see you next time for some more Dawn of War 3.
In the face of death, I shall have no remorse.